Welcome back to Financial Podcast. I'm Olivia. Today, we're diving into a major legal battle involving one of the world's most prestigious universities, Harvard, and the Trump administration, with significant implications that extend beyond academia and touch upon national security, immigration, and the economy. Before we get started, if you find this analysis insightful, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to Financial Podcast. Your support helps us bring you in-depth coverage of these important issues. All right, let's get into it. Harvard University is suing the Trump administration over the administration's decision to block the university from enrolling international students. This lawsuit escalates an ongoing dispute between the White House and Harvard. The core of the administration's action is the revocation of Harvard's certification under the Student and Exchange Visitor Program known as SEVP. Harvard has held the certification without interruption for over 70 years. The SEVP certification is essential for Harvard to lawfully host international students and scholars, allowing them to study and work in the U.S. on F1 and J1 visas. Without this status, current and prospective international students would need to transfer to another university or lose their ability to stay in the United States legally. The Trump administration, specifically the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, informed Harvard it was no longer certified less than 24 hours before Harvard filed its lawsuit. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was named in the lawsuit as the official at whose behest the revocation occurred. According to the DHS, the revocation is based on allegations that Harvard has created an unsafe campus environment by permitting anti-American, pro-terrorist agitators to harass and physically assault individuals, including many Jewish students, and has otherwise obstructed its once venerable learning environment. The administration also cited alleged failures by Harvard to combat anti-Semitism and change its hiring and admissions practices. Furthermore, the DHS statement mentioned that Harvard was being held accountable for collaboration with the CCP, fostering violence, anti-Semitism, and pro-terrorist conduct from students on its campus. This included accusations that Harvard had coordinated with the Chinese Communist Party by hosting and training members of a paramilitary group as recently as 2024. Secretary Noem stated that the U.S. government is, quote, holding Harvard accountable for fostering violence, anti-Semitism, and coordinating with the Chinese Communist Party on its campus, close quote. The DHS decertification letter also cited allegations of enforcing radical diversity, equity, and inclusion politics, and Harvard's alleged failure to vet international students for ideological leaning. These allegations regarding links to foreign adversaries like China and Iran are detailed further in other sources. Harvard is under investigation by the House Select Committee on China and the House Committee on Education and Workforce for its links to groups affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party and research groups being aided by Iran. Concerns listed include collaboration with the Xinjiang Production and Construction Corps, or XPCC, a U.S.-sanctioned paramilitary group involved in the genocide of Uyghur Muslims. Harvard is accused of hosting the XPCC at least 4 times after sanctions were imposed. The investigation also revealed Harvard University's research wing, which receives funding from the U.S. Department of Defense, allegedly forged partnerships with Chinese military-linked universities, such as Tsinghua, Zhejiang, and Huazhong universities, without U.S. government consent. Tsinghua University reportedly conducts defense research for China's People's Liberation Army and has been linked to cyber attacks against the U.S., while Zhejiang University has been involved in economic and cyber espionage. Huazhong University, with which Harvard collaborated on projects in artificial intelligence, microelectronics, and quantum science, also has close ties to the PLA. Additionally, concerns were raised about Harvard's collaborations with Iranian government-funded researchers working directly with Tehran, including projects financed by the Iranian National Science Foundation, which focuses on funding scientific research and development across various fields, including nuclear technology. Tie-ups with, quote, organ transplant research involving China-based collaborators were also noted amid mounting evidence of the Chinese Communist Party's forced organ harvesting practices. House Select Committee on China Chairman John Moulinar stated that Harvard trained members of a sanctioned Chinese paramilitary group responsible for genocide, and its researchers partnered with Chinese military universities on DoD-funded research and worked with researchers funded by the Iranian regime. He called these not isolated incidents, but a disturbing pattern that puts U.S. national security at risk. Tim Walberg, chairperson of the House Committee on Education and Workforce, added that no American university should assist the CCP in expanding its influence, oppressing American citizens, or undermining U.S. national security, finding several instances where Harvard aided and collaborated with the CCP, including helping Chinese researchers on military projects funded by the Iranian government. Harvard has been given a deadline of June 2025 to submit internal documents, communications, and testimonies related to the investigation. In response to the SEVP decertification, Harvard filed a 72-page lawsuit in federal court in Boston, describing the DHS action as an unprecedented and retaliatory act, unlawful and unwarranted, and a blatant violation of the U.S. Constitution's First Amendment and Due Process Clause. The university argues the move is a politically motivated act of retaliation carried out without process or cause, aimed at coercing Harvard into imposing ideological litmus tests on its admissions, hiring, and academic programs. Harvard President Alan M. Garber stated that the revocation is a continuation of government actions to retaliate against Harvard for refusing to surrender its academic independence and submit to the federal government's illegal assertion of control over our curriculum, our faculty, and our student body. He reiterated that the university would not surrender its independence or relinquish its constitutional rights, arguing the administration's prescription goes, quote, beyond the power of the federal government and violates Harvard's First Amendment rights, exceeding the statutory limits of the government's authority. Harvard also challenged the DHS's stated reason for the revocation, which was based on Harvard's alleged insufficient or ignored responses to records requests. Harvard insisted that it had complied with the DHS's requests, citing 2 document productions on April 30th and May 14th. The DHS's initial request on April 16 asked for 8 categories of information on international students, including data regarding disciplinary records, protest participation, and documentation of dangerous or violent activity. After the initial submission on April 30, DHS notified Harvard on May 7 that the submission was considered incomplete and requested 4 of the 8 categories again. Harvard conducted a second search and produced additional responsive information on May 14th. Harvard forcefully denied the government's accusations of regulatory violations, stating the government offered no evidence. The lawsuit names the DHS, the Department of Justice, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and the Department of State as defendants. Harvard plans to file a temporary restraining order shortly to stop the DHS from revoking its certification and terminating the visa status of thousands of international students. If a judge does not approve the TRO by Sunday, the DHS could proceed with terminating visas. The impact of this action is significant and far-reaching. Harvard states that the DHS order would cause, quote, immediate and irreparable harm to the university. The revocation threatens to upend the lives of thousands of students just days before graduation and imperils the futures of thousands of students and scholars across Harvard and countless others nationwide. Over 7,000 students study at Harvard on a visa, making up more than 27% of enrollments, approximately 6,800 students. The lawsuit describes the decertification as seeking to erase a quarter of Harvard's student body, international students who contribute significantly to the university and its mission. These students serve important roles as instructors, advisors, and medical care providers. Revoking certification would seriously and immediately disrupt the university's ongoing day-to-day operations by displacing these visa holders. Harvard argues that, quote, without its international students, Harvard is not Harvard, end quote. Beyond the operational disruption, Harvard claims that decertification would impair the educational experience of all Harvard students by diminishing the institution's global character and overall strength. It also places Harvard at a, quote, competitive disadvantage relative to peer schools in the admissions process, arguing that it could be prevented from admitting visa holders for 2 years, and that international students could remain wary of applying to Harvard for far longer out of fear of future reprisals. The move would force Harvard to retract admissions for thousands of people and has thrown countless academic programs, clinics, courses, and research laboratories into disarray. The impact is heaviest at graduate schools like the Harvard Kennedy School and Harvard Business School, where international students make up a large portion of the student body. For the international students themselves, the situation has caused significant distress, shock, uncertainty, and fear. They are unsure of what to expect next, whether they are waiting to enroll, halfway through their studies, or awaiting graduation. Students who are already at Harvard might have to transfer to other U.S. universities to maintain their legal status. Options are described as very troublesome and expensive. Students feel their futures are in limbo. The situation is described as, quote, ridiculous and dehumanizing by one student. International students came to the U.S. seeing it as a welcoming place with opportunities and valuing the diverse cultural experience. However, some feel this has changed, citing revoked visas and detention of students linked to protests. There is anxiety about leaving the U.S. even for summer breaks, fearing they won't be able to re-enter. Incoming students who turned down other offers and plan their lives around Harvard are now totally stuck. Pre-existing bureaucratic obstacles like rising visa denial rates and slow processing already add to the stress for these students. This is Harvard's second legal challenge against the Trump administration. The first was over multi-billion-dollar cuts to the university's research funding. A hearing date for that lawsuit was set for July 21, though more than $2.7 billion in federal funding remains frozen. In this current dispute, the Trump administration had first threatened to bar foreign students from Harvard in April after the university refused to make changes to its hiring, admissions, and teaching practices. The White House had also frozen nearly $3 billion in federal grants, which Harvard is challenging in court. The university has also faced demands from the Trump administration to dismantle its diversity, equity, and inclusion programming, restrict student protests, and disclose admission details to federal officials. Harvard has refused to comply with these demands, with President Garber stating the university will not allow the government to dictate its teaching, admissions, hiring, or areas of study. China has criticized the Trump administration's move as politicization of education, stating it harms the U.S.'s image and standing. China's foreign ministry said it would safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of its overseas students and scholars. Harvard has stated it is fully committed to maintaining its ability to host international students and scholars who enrich the university and the nation. President Garber called the action unlawful and unwarranted, assuring international students and scholars that they are vital members of the community and that the university will support them. Harvard is working quickly to provide guidance and support to its community members. This situation highlights the complex interplay between national security concerns, government policy, and the operations of higher education institutions. The outcome of this lawsuit will have significant implications for Harvard, its thousands of international students, and potentially for other universities across the United States. Before we wrap up, a final reminder to subscribe to Financial Podcast and like this video if you found the information valuable. Your engagement is crucial for us to continue producing content like this. Thank you for tuning in to Financial Podcast. We'll continue to monitor this developing story and bring you updates as they become available. I'm Olivia, and I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.